Presets. Goddamn presets, they get on my absolute wick. 20 years ago, presets were useful. They would help you attain something. Now all they're good for is trying to make your work look like somebody else. And who wants to do that? Who comes into photography or any creative sphere and tries to be somebody else? That's just insanity. But people have got very savvy at selling these things to photographers who don't know any better. So today I'm going to talk about why you should run away from the preset as fast as you can. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Lance Burkitt Encounter, and today I'm going to talk about my biggest current bugbear, which is presets. And they're a bugbear because I see gurus, shall we call them, all over the shop selling their wares, telling you how good their presets are, why you should use them, and then selling them for 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 quid, whatever it is, only for the unsuspecting photographer to then get home, install their wares, apply them to their pictures, and have their pictures look like dog shit, not like what Guru said they would look like. And then they go back onto Facebook or Insta shit or whatever it is and kick off at said photographer or said Guru because it don't work. And they haven't clocked the fact of why it don't work, and I'm going to talk about that now. But outside of that, anything you do in photography should be about learning and applying. And if you're using a preset that somebody else has made, how do you apply that learning? It's a little bit like being an artist and sketching an outline and then coming to somebody else and going, fill it in for us. Fill it in and make it look like Van Gogh. And then claiming it's your own. It will never work. It will never be good. You'll never attain the same level of quality as the Guru. Quite simply because the Guru's original pictures that they're applying the filters and presets to are different to yours. Different aesthetically, different technically, different, just different. So you can never apply a preset and get it close to what you think it's going to be because your picture's different to theirs. Plus the presets they're preset for the person that made them for their use. They're not preset for you. And I do think that the gurus know this, but they still go on and sell them because, for want of a better phrase, idiots, I take it back, inexperienced, new people, photographers, who are desperate to get good, desperate to get to the point where they think their work's as good as their guru, idol, hero, will take any shortcut given to them, even if it is going to cost them 50 quid a pop. And that's a complete wrong way to approach photography or any art form. And it frustrates me because I see no end of, I'm going to use the term photographer quite loosely there, digital marketer stroke guru, selling their wares on social media, pretending that if you buy this preset, your work will look as good as them. Become like me, become a god overnight. Well, doesn't work like that. And it shouldn't work like that. And presets or actions or whatever you want to call them should only work in your benefit for your reasons. And your reasons should come from your work and how you want your work to look from your own identity. Joe Blogg's work, I love Joe Blogg. Oh, can I get my work to look like him? I know, I'll shoot something of the ilk that he does, portrait, landscape, whack his filters on it, his presets, and suddenly I'll be him. No. You're never going to get there. It's never going to work. Because the chances are that Joe Bloggs knows exactly what he did to get his picture from start to finish. He's just giving you the end game, not the middle game. So what did you learn? Somebody says to you, how did you do that shot there? What was the process? And you go, oh, well, I shot it and then just whacked a filter on that I bought from Facebook. Once they've finished laughing the bollocks off at you, they'll say, what did you learn? And you'll say, well, I learnt that I wasted 50 quid because it's dog shit and it don't look anything like Joe Bloggs'. And that's the real truth. And if you think that your work is looking like Joe Bloggs' work, then you just don't know what you're talking about. You've got no real understanding of what Joe Bloggs' work actually is. or what your picture actually is. And you find that a lot, particularly with new photographers or those who have been at it for a few years but never had an honest critique thrown at them, is that they think their work's good and it's not. They think their work looks like something else and it doesn't. And it's become easier, let me rephrase that, it's become more difficult for inexperienced photographers to understand this, because the gurus they're following, because photography has become difficult to operate in, to make money in, many of these gurus have diversified into doing things like teaching badly and selling their presets to help you become like them, but not selling you the knowledge that they've attained to be able to do that. And I started using presets and actions in 2008 after I went to a seminar with Guy Gowan again. I talk about Guy quite a lot because he's the best, still was then, still is now. But his actions, they were different because he would talk you through how the action worked, what it did and why it did it, and why you should use it. And then you could apply it. And it didn't do anything guru-like. It just enabled you to do good quality edits to the same level across a batch of as many pictures as you wanted in a couple of touches, rather than having to go into each picture and individually apply these 5 or 6 steps. So I started using presets, actions if you like, for that. That's 20 years ago, when photography was a lot more commercially viable than it is now in the main. And at that point, the kind of presets were almost like a time saver, more than an aesthetic thing. Although that you did apply your aesthetic to them, but they were built in such a way as they weren't mimicking anybody else. They were just kind of like a quick way of editing your pictures all to the same standard across a big batch of them. That's why I used them. That's why they were good. That's why Guy Gowan did them and gave them out, because that was the point. It was about mimicking and making your work like Guy's work. Guy who didn't have any work to show you. He just showed you the process. So that's, 20 years I've been using presets, if you like, but not to make my work look like somebody else's, but as an aid, as a shortcut to do batches if I'm doing batch work. 9 times out of 10 now, I edit each picture individually. It's very rare that I use batch work now, unless the clients want to see all the images and select them, then I'll do a batch to tidy them up and make them look nice, because who's going to send an unedited picture to a client? I'm not. They're certainly not going to get my raw file. They'll get a somewhat edited, batched JPEG, which has been done through a batch process, so they're all the same. They're all the same colour, same tone, same exposure, all that, for them to make selections. It's quicker than doing them all by hand to send to a client. But I'm not using them for anything else other than that. Certainly not to add an aesthetic that somebody else has to them. Why would I do that? But people do that. So it's kind of like they've become democratized, if you like, or commercialized, monetized, because photographers, using that word loosely, gurus, are struggling to make money like they used to. So they've diversified into other avenues, and one of those other avenues is quite honestly selling shit like this. It grinds my gears, because most photographers or most creatives can't be affording, they shouldn't be spending money on, all right, you're free, you can spend your money on what you want, you're free to do what you want any old time, spend your money on what you want, but think about what you could spend that money on instead. And instead of wasting 5, 10, 15, 20 quid on pretty crap presets that don't really learn you anything or teach you anything, or certainly don't improve your work, why don't you save that money and spend it on some proper tuition instead? And again, I'm not just saying spend it on tuition for me, but people like me. And you will get a lot more from that, from earning your stripes through learning process, learning techniques, learning edit techniques, learning how your own batch processes and presets can save you time, effort and stress, than give it to somebody else who knows your work's never going to look like theirs. Because your work won't look like theirs, because it's not theirs, is it? Your work is your work. Your work was shot on a different time, day, location, person, light, all that. So it doesn't matter how much you apply that preset, it's never going to look like the person who you're trying to emulate's work. It's just not. So yeah, it's a frustration of mine, and you got to ask yourself, I think, have these presets aided your personal development as a photographer? And be real honest with yourself. Look at your off the camera images, look at your presetted images, and ask yourself, how is your work, or how's your process, or how's your photography developed in that space? And I guarantee you can't answer that you've developed as a photographer, as a creative. All you've done is taken somebody else's, sometimes hard work, sometimes not so hard work, applied it to yours, and put it out like you're a genius. When 99% of the stuff I see that's done like that is dog shit. You don't know it because you don't know it yet, but it is. So for me, presets went from being essential tools for photographers to creative crutches. And by creative crutches, I mean to stop learning, to stop you from getting better, to stop you from having to go down a path that might take years to learn process. You've hit the preset shortcut button and think you're a genius, when really you're not. It's just a crutch. You still don't know how it got there, what it means. Why has it got yellow cast on it? Why have you put the left-hand side in shade? Why have you added a lens flare? All those things should come from you, from your own creative position. If your shot is like the one I'm going to show you in a second of Liv, and you apply any filter to it or any preset, what are you trying to achieve? Are you trying to make it look like Joe Blogg's work, or do you just think it'll make your work look better? Because either of those is the complete wrong reason for you to be doing anything with photography. Because photography is probably one of the most, if not one of the most personal, creative experiences you can have. It's rare as a photographer you're in any more than your own company. If you're doing a group shot, fashion, or whatever it is. But most genres of photography mean you're on your own creativity, your own inspirations, your own ideas, your own thoughts. Why then are you going to stick somebody else's outcome on the end of it? That's just piss poor practice for me. What happens is people get sucked into it, and then you get people commenting on social media. And I'm not always sure they're genuine commenters either. Quite often they're just bots, aren't they? Going, oh, I bought this and it was brilliant. So everybody's sucked into it. And I've seen them on there. I was looking at one yesterday. A really poor set of presets with thousands of people commenting. So it's easy money. I understand why these gurus are doing it. Photography influence. What the fuck's a photography influencer? Jesus Christ. Anyway. Buy into my aesthetic. You love my work, you'll love this preset. Buy it, download it, be me. And they get sucked in. And there is a big obsession with it. There's a big obsession with making perfectly nice images look orangey, tealy, or that film aesthetic. What the fuck's that even mean? Make your still look like a 1940s film. I mean, come on, it's hard enough fighting AI, never mind doing this yourself. When really, what were you doing in the first place? And if you've started shooting in camera or making your shoots try to look like somebody else's, knowing you're going to apply this filter, give it up. What's the point in being another? What are you, a cover band? It's a bit like, some people aspire to be musicians and then spend the rest of their life just being a Beatles cover band or a Rolling Stones cover band or whatever the shit it is, Queen. Well, anybody can do that if you practice hard enough. Be original. Nobody wants to be another literal David Bailey. Nobody wants to be another literal, I don't know, Guy Borden, or nobody wants to be another anybody. Or do they? Do you? If you do, I understand being inspired. I've got all my inspirations. I did a podcast on them a few weeks back, my top 5 biggest inspirations, but I don't try to be them. I'm not sitting there going, oh, I need to find one of the, what they call them, or presets, so I can get my work to look more like Richard Avedon's fashion. Yeah. No. I went and studied techniques, got as much of it in camera, got a workflow together in my Photoshop edit, and made my work with my slant of an ilk. And if you're not doing that, then fucking give it up, because you're never going to be, nobody's ever going to respect you. You'll just be another one that's trying to be somebody else. And I can't stand that in any creative walk of life. I just can't. I mean, I know TikTok and YouTube Shorts are brilliant at giving you 20 seconds to discover how to be a genius. But fundamentally, what have you learned at the end of it? If you can pick up a camera today, no experience, put it on auto, shoot something, put it on your computer, go onto a website, download a preset, open it in Photoshop or Lightroom, click apply, send that picture out. What the fuck have you learned? What did you have to do with that? What was it? The camera's done the picture for you. Autofocus, auto exposure, auto colour, auto preset. What did you do? You did absolutely fuck all. You learnt nothing, you did nothing. But yet you'll tell everybody you're a photographer. You'll tell everybody you're going to be the next big thing. You'll tell everybody that you're brilliant. And I think more and more and more and more photography that I see is becoming soulless because of that. It's no longer personal. It's no longer a personal style. It's no longer, oh, I can tell that's an XYZ picture. It's a fucking hell. They all look the same. They're like influencers. They all look the same. And I think soulless photography is the key. It's becoming like that, and it's part of the reason I think why I'm rarely inspired these days. Because you can see so much preset copycat stuff around, it's difficult to find original stuff where you think, Christ, that guy or girl's just fucking spent years owning that craft to get that good. And you can see that. You can see how they talk about it, you can see how they show it. If you stop and ask them, they'll tell you. You think, fucking hell, there are some that can still do it. And, you know, a good trick to do is just have a look down an Instagram feed or any of those fucking social media feeds at photography, and pick the odd one out, because they're hard to find, because they're all the same. They've all got the same kind of going on, because they've all copied each other, they've all presetted each other. And presets and the gurus selling them, it's not entirely their fault. You can't really fault them, There's a gap in the market, fill it. But that's some of the reason, not all of the reason, but some of the reason why so much photography is drab and crap and not good and not aesthetically pleasing and not any of those things which are associated with proper, clever, good, if you like, photography. And it is a bugbear of mine. It does piss me off. It does grind my gears, if you like, because I like to see good photography. I like to see good process. I just can't appreciate presets that have just been blopped on any old picture because somebody thinks it makes them look good. And we'll just talk about a little bit of that now. I'll show you one of my pictures of this picture of Liv. This was shot in the studio here against the wall. Natural light mimic. It was actually some flashlight, but we put a bit of we put some stands and stuff in between the light source and Liv to make it look like we got a bit of trees coming from outside. So it was kind of faked, but that was the look we were going for. No Pulitzer Prize winning stuff here. Just a nice picture of Liv. Great model, great lighting, great tones, great skin, nice and normal. One thing you'll notice is I've got a white background. And why have I got a white background? Because I know what the fuck I'm doing. So I'm colour balancing in shot. And this is another thing I'm going to do a podcast on soon. The exposure triangle. It's outdated. It's been an exposure quadrangle since digital came in. And I say quadrangle because most digital photographers always miss out white balance because they shoot raw and think they'll fix it later. Stop it. Do it in camera. So I'm going to do a cast on the exposure quadrangle rather than the exposure triangle. But I know what I'm talking about in terms of exposure. So I know how to shoot this stuff. I've shot it for 20 years. I know how to get a white background. I've done it for 20 years. I know my process of edit. I've done it for 20 years. Why now would I go, I think it needs a filter. I want to look like Joe Bloggs. And I'm going to stick a filter on it. His stuff kind of tends to have like a yellow cast on it, doesn't it? Let's try that. So if I go into Adobe Raw filter, Camera Raw, let's see. These god-awful filters down here. Seasoning. Oh my god, that sounds terrible. You see I had a few open earlier. Let's have a look what's in vintage. VM1. Did it do anything? Couldn't tell. Oof. So it's took all the colour off. Did you see that? I had too much cyan. Did you see that in the histogram? What's VN2 do? Similar. VN7. Oh, now we've got orange. VN8. Come on. Okay, let's apply that one. Wait, see that? Ooh. So, just edit and undo that a little bit. Can you see that difference? Look at that time, effort, and control I did on that picture. And then suddenly I went, oh no, but we need to have that filter. Ooh. And you can see what it's done to the histogram and the colour. And that's the kind of stuff that you see. People are doing that kind of stuff where they go, filter, oh, it looks great now. And the simplest form of that is Instagram. Upload to Instagram, swipe right, get your tealy, whatever it is on New York, bang. Oh no, great. Truth is, no, you're dog shit, and your pictures are now dog shit because you've done that to them. So we'll undo that. But you get the impression, you see the point that if you've got a nice picture to start with, and you decide to look like Joe Blows, you're going to whack a filter of some ilk on there, whatever it is. I mean, you can even just do a bit like whiten teeth. I mean, Christ, that retouch went out with... Retouching teeth and eyes went out with bloody Loaded magazine, which I see has made a comeback, actually, which is great, but I'm not too sure about all that heavy retouching jazz. So again, you can see this one. I've gone for lifestyle, LFO1. Look at it. You can see the change in it. Let's try number 2. Oof. 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 But if you go on Instagram, you'll see that shit all day. Instagram, TikTok, everywhere. You'll see that shit all day. And one of the things I teach when I'm teaching photography tech is how to shoot in camera to get your white balance well, your exposure's good. Then follow process into Photoshop to get the end bit good. Clean it up, add some contrast, make sure your exposure's perfect, double check your white balance, that kind of stuff. Why would you then go and apply the shit to it because you think it looks funky? I mean, I did all that work to get it to that, to then just go buff. It's bullshit. I know it. You know it. Don't do it. It's not big. It's not clever. So yeah, I mean, the thing about that is, it's clearly shit. And I showed you some pretty ropey options there, but that's really what it's like. Whether you're doing lightning, whether you're just doing adding colour, or whether you're adding contrast or whatever you're doing, it will be crap because you're using a different raw picture to what the original person who did the presets is. So you'll never be able to mimic it exactly. More often than not, you'll make your picture worse. You'll degrade the quality of your picture, as I've just shown. But really, for me as a teacher, learning is key, and learning is all about making mistakes. And if you're just unknowingly applying these filters without understanding the mistake you're making, you're going to make that forever, and you're going to probably spend 5 or 10 years before somebody has the balls to say to you, what the fuck is that? Because I would say that to you, not as a teacher. I wouldn't say what the fuck's that. I would say, excuse me, let's have a chat about your work, honestly. I would say, why are you doing this applique? What is it you're trying to achieve? And then I would ask you how you learned it and how you did it. And I would give you some advice on how not to do it. But people are afraid to do those kind of conversations now. People just go, oh yeah, it's great, mate. I love it. It's great. It's fabulous. It's just great. It's just brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I love it. Because they haven't got the cojones to say, what are you doing? But I will say that. I will challenge people. And feel free to challenge my work as well. I'm open to critique every day of the week. Not precious about it at all. coming back to the learning thing, if you're not learning, why are you doing it? And learning is all about mistakes and learning from them. So maybe the first learning curve you're going to take on this journey as a photographer is to learn not to use presets. Or more rightly, learn how to make presets to work for you. And stop feeling like a pressure to be the best photographer in 30 seconds. I was looking through YouTube Shorts yesterday, just seeing what the photographers are doing, what the topics are hot, and the amount of shorts I came across with that are like, learn photography in 10 minutes, learn everything you need to know in 10 minutes. I'm like, just fuck off. I can teach you what a camera is and what the basic thing is doing in 10 minutes. Hell, I can teach you that in a minute. In fact, I'll post a YouTube short that's 30 seconds long that shows you exactly what the 5 components of photography are. But to learn it to a point where you're proficient and you can repeat yourself and your end output is good and maintains that goodness, 10 minutes is bullshit. 10 years is closer. If you're good, you can do it in 5. If you're amazing, you can do it in 2. But then there's a hell of a lot of hard work, practice, and repetition after that. So I want you to think, I'd like anybody that's watching this, that's stayed with me this far, what are we in 25 minutes in some shit, to think about, if you're using presets, why you're doing it. And to think about doing, if you're going to use presets, use your own, make your own, for the reasons I've described. And try and step away from that pressure of the dopamine rush. If I post this and do this and it looks a bit weird, I get a like. Oh, well, what's a like? You can have 4 million likes. The truth is your work's shit, and that truth won't change because 4 million uneducated, illiterate, or visually illiterate people have liked your picture. You come back to the photographers forum, to true photographers, to photographers who understand photography, and that like won't be there. A critique will be there, and you would have earned that critique, I think, at that point. But I understand it's difficult when you're trying to establish yourself, you're trying to get a name for yourself, you're trying to get big quick, you're trying to take all the shortcuts you can. I'm guilty of shortcuts. I'm a photographer. We're notoriously lazy and want shortcuts. But you've got to be careful of the shortcuts you take. And if you don't learn something in taking that shortcut, if you don't learn something you can reapply, then don't take it, is my advice. Presets are set up. They're almost like divine. They're a divine creation for this awful algorithm-driven world we've kind of stumbled into or been led into. And it might be that you are known for this look because of the aesthetic you've got through using presets. Doesn't mean you're any bloody good. Doesn't mean you can't look at it now with an honest eye and go, actually, I can see what Lance is saying now. Shit. Wind it back and tell people why you wound it back. Go back and relearn. And you'll find, I think, that once you've understood that and been honest with yourself about your preset aesthetic, your preset workflow, you'll realize that in using the presets that's made by somebody else and sold to you, you have killed all semblance of your own originality. The original idea, the original thing that came from you no longer exists because you're entirely reliant on an aesthetic somebody else has made for you. And that in itself is not what photography is all about. And I know there's some gurus out there that will say, yeah, but photography just means drawing with light. Well, it does. And you can put a million things into drawing with light. But in the real world, in our virtual world we live in our simulation, photography, like all art forms, is about quality and personality. And if your personality is not being shown through your photography because you've used somebody else's plugin or preset or action or whatever it is, it's no different to what I said earlier than assigning an outline to somebody else to fill in and calling yourself an artist. You've got to understand who you are as a photographer, as a person, what you're trying to create, the steps you need to take to get there to create the thing you're trying to create, and maintain that through your own volition, through your own processes, through your own learning. And you can't do that until you've been the presets. And it might be you're sitting there now saying, fucking hell, Lance, I can't bin the preset. I've used presets for 20 years. I don't know how to do it without presets. Well, luckily for you, there's people like me, and there's other good people out there as well. I've been watching some videos the last few days. Some really good teachers on YouTube. Some not so good ones as well, but there are a few good ones. And, where was I? You can wind it back. If you've become entirely reliant on other people's tools to make work, then you probably have to go back to scratch, go back to the raw file, and figure out a way to reinvent yourself, to be honest with yourself. And some of that will mean learning and editing from scratch. And I see quite often people will say, oh, fucking hell, I hate editing. God, don't you, I hate editing. And then I think, I don't get that, because a little bit like when it used to be darkroom stuff, you go out into the shoot, then you'd just be busting together the darkroom to fix it and do all that. Digital editing for me is the same, and people only find, the people I see that say they hate editing is the ones who don't know what they're doing. So I can just about remember what I was like when I first got on a computer, and I was like, right, there's Photoshop, what does it do? No idea, better get some tuition on this. So I can understand people looking at a blank canvas on, hopefully on Photoshop and not on any of the other million, what do they call them? Editing platforms, which are not all bad, but none of them are as good as Photoshop yet. And Guy Gowan does a good podcast on why that is. It's all about how the engine works and stuff. But I did some sampling myself between Photoshop and a few other what they call high-end editing platforms, and used a similar process, same tools, and the results were just garbage compared to Photoshop. So I have to say, you won't find me using anything other than Photoshop yet. So I mean, process is not difficult. Digital editing should be fun, and it should be fun because you've taught yourself how to do it, or somebody's taught you how to do it, or you found a workflow that you know the time spent editing is the thing that's going to push your pictures to the next level. Never mind the presets, never mind the dopamine rush from the likes. It's about you understanding and knowing that your photography is fucking good. I hope you've learned how to use a camera inside out. I hope you've learned how to use all the stuff in your camera to get the best out of your camera. If you have, why then sacrifice all of that work at the edit stage? Don't do it. Find the process, like I did. I learned from Guy Gowan. I've taken that learning, pushed myself a little more, found a few new techniques that suit my work, and developed over 20 years a workflow that works for me and for what I want to output. And you need to do the same. And it's not as difficult as you think. It's all about learning a proper aesthetic so you shoot with your end game in mind. You know when you're shooting what the edit's going to be. You know you're not going to be using presets. You know you're not going to be doing anything that's been done by anybody else. You know everything that you want to do is encased in your own workflow, and you're never having to rely on that preset fixing something because you're too goddamn lazy to learn Photoshop and learn to enjoy Photoshop, which is what I do, which is what all good editors do, because it's a part of the creative process. It's a part of that understanding your work, understanding your aesthetic, understanding your output, what you want to do, who you want to be. And if you relegate any part of that to somebody else, or somebody else to that bit, somebody else to that bit, then you're just a cheat. You're just I don't know. You're not really an artist, a photographer. You're a bit of a no mark. Even back in the day when people like Richard Avedon didn't edit their pictures themselves, they would be in a darkroom with the darkroom tech, explain to them what they wanted. So although they didn't physically do it, they were present and they had their they had the person making it exactly how they wanted it to look. And I guess you could do that now. You could go to a retouch house and say, I want this. Yeah, fair enough, you could do that. But for me, as a photographer, without the addition of Photoshop, my photography would be quite bland, because the cameras we have, digital cameras, are not quite there yet. They don't quite, that 10% that's missing will always be missing. So unless you could put that back somehow, I would be not happy with my photography, because it's 10%, even though I spend a lot of time in camera getting it right, it's 10% not there. And I would never use a preset to get it there. I would find another way, but for me, the best way is Photoshop. And there's no substitute for that. There's no shortcut for that. You won't find me using what they call it, presets, or anything that undermines my good work, if you like. And I've just been editing this quite slowly. While I've been talking, just to show you the quick difference, that 10% I was talking about. And I've done that pretty quickly, and I've got a bit of blue there. I'd probably get rid of if I was doing it properly, but I've just been doing it quickly just to show you how easy it is to change things dramatically. I always shoot a little underexposed so I can bring loads back. I've talked about that before. But the edit process for me goes hand in glove with the shoot process. So to sit there going, I hate editing, I hate that Photoshop, or I hate when I don't want to do that. You need to teach yourself to not feel like that. You need to get out of that zone. Leave the preset behind. Leave the fear of Photoshop behind. Embrace Photoshop or Lightroom. I prefer Photoshop myself for many reasons, but Lightroom will do most stuff. Learn it. There's enough videos on the 30 odd videos I've done now for you to pick through them and learn how to do Photoshop. There's enough other great teachers on YouTube who show you their ways of using Photoshop to get to their end game. Find a process that works for you. Find a process that adds to your camera process. Find a workflow where you can do things swiftly, the same, all the time, so you know your output is the same quality, the same standards all the time. And then look back on what you were doing with presets. And trust me, you will go, holy fuck, what was I thinking? And that's the kind of my fervent hope for new photographers, or for photographers who lost the way a bit and got sucked into that, which is understandable, because you know it's like with marketing, it's in your face all the time. I did a bit of research for this podcast, and I just searched a few terms, and then the next day my feed's just full of fucking people selling presets, which is quite funny. I like reading the comments. It's quite funny, because people actually call these people geniuses and wonderful, and thanks for allowing me to be as good as you, when they're clearly not. And I guess, you know, the biggest part out of all that is, all you're going to do if you're using presets, apart from lessen the quality of your work, is you're just going to become a clone of somebody else, or of everybody else, aren't you? And I can't think of anything worse than people looking at my work and going, oh, Lindsay, you look like so-and-so. I don't want that. I want people to go, I can see your influences in there, but that's nice work. Nice and clean. You've shot it well. You've edited it well. Not, oh, that's a nice orange cast on that. How'd you do that? Oh, it were a preset. Oh, how'd you do that? Well, somebody else did all the hard work. I just hit a button and it appeared. Don't be that person. You'll never be taken seriously. You'll never get respect. You'll never really respect yourself. You will just always have that in the back of your mind. You'll have it in the back of your mind to know that you really just wank. And I can't think of anything worse as an artist than thinking, God, I'm dog shit really, Anna. If it weren't for that preset, I'd be fucked. Can't think of anything worse. So try, if you've been sucked into that preset world, try reinvent yourself. Try and get yourself back to that where you're good because you know you're good, because you can do, because you've learned. Question I was going to ask you was, do you guys think we can use presets ethically? And I guess it depends what you're doing. If you're just playing at this, if you just want a bit of fun, if you're just trying to get a portfolio to show your grandkids, I guess it doesn't matter, does it? if you're trying to make work to sell to people and show people how good you are and get them to buy you, then using presets is a bit of a fucking cheat, really, isn't it? Because it's not your work. Unless you're saying, well, 50% of it's mine, but 50% of it's Joe Blow because he made all the plugins that I use. People aren't going to buy into you. I think when you get into the realms of digital editing, magazine covers, what else? Games covers, those kind of things. You can probably use some presets, or the designers will use presets to get a certain look. If you've been paid for that, and once you've done your pictures and you've not applied all the stuff, if you give them the pictures, they're going to then do it. That's fine because that's what they bought them for. Wouldn't particularly like it, but that's the world we live in. But you as a photographer shouldn't be like whacking other people's stuff on it thinking it looks good, because it's just detrimental. Detrimental to you, to the industry, to other photographers who are trying to be taken seriously and trying to learn things themselves. I mean, it may be that some of these presets, maybe I'm doing some of them in injustice, maybe they do work in such a way as they explain to you, exactly what you're doing and why it's doing it, and you can go back in and re-edit them, like the ones I use from Guy Gowan, but that's probably pretty rare in my understanding, because I think people want it as a quick fix, don't they? Shoot, computer, preset, output, genius. No, not in this life. So think about it. Have a think about if you're using presets, or if you were thinking about using presets. Are they worth it? Are you learning something? Can you apply it to your knowledge, your workflow, your capacity as a photographer? Are they making you take shortcuts you shouldn't be taking? Are they detrimental to your final output? My experience of seeing them in action, seeing students use them, is they're always detrimental. They always do the opposite of what you think they're actually doing. You think they're making pictures look better and wow, when really they're just going. And anybody worth the salt, magazine editor, photo editor, photographer, designer, can see it and go. They will see it a mile off and they won't buy into it. So if you are using presets in the main, my kind of challenge to you is for the next month, just don't do it. Just step back from the preset. Have a go at finding your own workflow, your own aesthetic, your own end game. And don't try and make it look like the preset was looking. Try and find something else. Get your honesty back, get yourself back, become the photographer you should be by not buying into somebody else's aesthetic and somebody else's work. Figure out yourself. Either look back through my editing techniques, send me a message and ask me, Lance, what could I do with this to improve? I'll give you an honest critique. How can I critique you? Well, I've been a photographer for 20 years working. I've got a master's degree in photography. I'm a fully fledged, bona fide, qualified educator, and I've held more critique sessions with photographers than I care to remember. So I am well qualified in giving critiques, and I will give an honest critique, but I will also give you some advice. All right. So if you're struggling, or you think you're a presetter, or you want to just get some help, get out of that and get into a new vibe, drop me a message. Either message me a comment or drop me an email. I'll respond to you as quick as I can with some advice. Promise that, any of you. But take a month off from it. Step back. Maybe even send me some work and I'll critique it for you. This is what I was doing before, Lance. This is what I'm doing now. What do you think? I'm always happy to help and get involved. Try and push your photography knowledge, your learning, your quality up and forward. That's what I'm here for. I've said in a YouTube short, I think I posted it, that I've got 20 years at this game, more than 20 years as a photographer, almost 20 years as an educator. And I just have a lot to give back, and I'm doing it for free because I can, because I'm in a position where I can give it all back for free. And I like talking about photography. I like sharing experience. I like the therapy of doing this. Started off as a bit of therapy for me. It's really become good therapy, getting things off my chest, sharing them with you, asking you your thoughts. It's a nice way of kind of giving something back and feeling like it's kind of exciting and worth doing. So I'll continue to do it. But really, it's therapy for me and some free education for you. And you can either take it or leave it. Makes no odds to me. Those of you that want to take it, great. Those that you want to tell me to fuck off, I'll fuck off. All you have to do is go mute or next or whatever it is you're on to do. So that's pretty much it from me in terms of the preset thing. And I'm glad I got off my chest because it's been on my wick this last while. Maybe below, if you've got any preset confessions, maybe you've had some bad preset, experiences, tell me about them below. Drop me a comment below and say, Lance, you're right, this happened. Show us. Let's have let's have a laugh at your expense, and then we'll learn and grow together. Eh? We'll not just laugh at you, we'll laugh with you, and we'll offer some suggestions as to how it could have been done different or better. I have only had that one bad experience with presets, and I was only pissing about. I was never really seriously going to use it, I think. But thankfully, I'm educated enough to understand what I was doing and that it was shit, so I didn't use it. I would never go back to presets. I would never advocate for using presets. I would only advocate for you doing the best you can with the knowledge you've got. Seek out new learning, seek out new ways of doing things, and package that all up as your own photography self. How do I shoot? How do I edit? What does my work look like? And that has got to come from you. If it's coming from you with somebody else's aesthetic on it, it's not you. If it's coming from you with somebody else's copied workflow to a T, it's not you. Borrow. In fact, don't borrow. Steal things. Steal things, make them your own. And you'll not go far wrong. As long as you're learning, progressing, and being honest. So that's it. Presets. They're a lot of shit. I hated them then. I hate them now. Hopefully over the next month, some of you might just bin them, save a few quid, spend it on some tuition instead. Or spend it on taking your wife out for a meal. That would be a better spend of the money, wouldn't it? Anyway, thanks for sticking with me this far. If you have, drop us a subscribe and a like. It massively helps the channel, all that stuff. Thanks for listening, watching, bearing with me, and I'll catch you all on the flip side. Cheers all.
About a way to get you out my mind. Think about a way to get you out my mind. Think about a way to get you out my mind. Think about a way to get you out my mind. You won't believe, yeah, I can't get you out my life, no, no. Get you out my